We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
That's one small step for man.
On July 20th, 1969, the entire world stopped in front of their televisions to witness what seemed to be the most extraordinary achievement in human history: the arrival of man on the moon. Neil Armstrong, dressed in a space suit, spoke the words that would define an era. One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. These words encapsulated centuries of dreams and decades of technological progress. However, more than 50 years later, questions persist. Was it all real? Was the Apollo 11 mission an authentic scientific feat or an elaborate hoax designed to showcase American superiority during the Cold War? In this story, heroes, political intrigue, technological advancements, and a growing skepticism intertwine. The goal of this video is to take you through the historical events, the arguments supporting the mission, the conspiracy theories that question it, and finally, a reflection on the impact of this event on our perception of reality. Let's travel back to 1961. The world was divided into two ideological blocks: capitalism, led by the United States, and communism, led by the Soviet Union. This division wasn't just political and economic. It extended to technology. The so-called space race represented the fierce competition between two opposing systems, each seeking to prove its model superior. On April 12th of that year, Yuri Gagarin became the first human to orbit Earth, a milestone that left the United States trailing in the space race. Just a month later, President John F. Kennedy addressed Congress and issued a challenge that seemed unattainable: to send a man to the moon and bring him back before the end of the decade. In his famous 1962 speech at Rice University, Kennedy declared, "We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other things, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills." These words not only inspired a nation, but also marked the beginning of one of the most ambitious projects in human history. But was it really possible to achieve? At that time, American technology was in its infancy compared to that of the Soviets. NASA's early rockets faced constant failures, and the idea of traveling through space, landing on another celestial body, and returning seemed like something out of science fiction. This context is key to understanding both the grandeur of the achievement and the doubts that have arisen around it. If the goal was so unattainable, is it possible that the United States simply faked the accomplishment to demonstrate its power? On July 16th, 1969, millions of people watched as the Saturn V rocket launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. It was an awe-inspiring sight: a 110-meter-tall vehicle, loaded with 2,800 tons of fuel, carrying astronauts Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins aboard. The Saturn V, a marvel of engineering, was specifically designed to fulfill Kennedy's promise. For years, thousands of engineers, scientists, and technicians had worked tirelessly on every detail of the Apollo program. From navigation systems to spacesuits, everything had been tested repeatedly to ensure the mission's success. 4 days later, the lunar module Eagle descended onto the moon's surface. While Armstrong and Aldrin conducted their historic moonwalk, Collins remained in the command module, orbiting more than 100 kilometers above. Together, these three men carried out a mission that would be remembered for generations. However, this narrative, although thrilling, is not free from controversy. From the moment the images of the moon landing reached Earth, some began to question their authenticity. Could it be possible that the entire event was a carefully crafted hoax staged in a Hollywood studio? The first doubts about the moon landing's authenticity did not arise immediately, but they gained traction during the 1970s. In 1976, Bill Kaysing, a former employee of a NASA contractor, published a book titled "We Never Went to the Moon: America's $30 billion Swindle." In it, Kaysing claimed that the odds of the mission succeeding were so low that it was more logical to fake it than to risk a humiliating failure. Kaysing's central argument was that, In the midst of the Cold War, the United States desperately needed a symbolic victory over the Soviet Union. What better way to achieve this than by conquering the moon? According to Kazing, the images of the moon landing were filmed in a studio and presented to the public as real. Since then, conspiracy theories about the moon landing have proliferated. Some of the most common claims include the flag waving in an atmosphere-less environment, the absence of stars in photographs taken from the lunar surface, shadows that appear to indicate multiple light sources like those in a studio, the Van Allen radiation belt, which some say would have made the trip impossible. Although these theories have been debunked multiple times by scientists and experts, their popularity persists, fueled by skepticism and a fascination with unsolved mysteries. If you're enjoying the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to join the family of Universe. Now let's delve into the conspiracy theorist arguments and the scientific explanations that refute them. 1. The waving flag. The movement observed in the American flag is not due to wind, as there is no atmosphere on the moon. Instead, the flag was designed with an L-shaped rod to keep it extended. The movement occurred when the astronauts planted the flag in the lunar soil, and the vibrations persisted due to the low gravity. 2. The absence of stars in photographs. The cameras used by the astronauts were configured to capture the extremely bright lunar surface. In these conditions, stars, much dimmer in comparison, do not appear in the images, a phenomenon that anyone can replicate with a camera here on Earth. 3. The inconsistent shadows. The appearance of non-parallel shadows in photos is due to perspective and the uneven terrain of the moon. In an environment with a single light source, the sun, shadows can appear distorted depending on the angle from which they are viewed. 4. The Van Allen belt. The radiation belts surrounding Earth pose a challenge for any space mission. However, the astronauts passed through this region quickly, minimizing their exposure. Additionally, the Apollo spacecraft were designed with adequate shielding for the expected radiation doses. 5. The studio lighting effect. Critics often point to photographs where shadows appear to have varying lengths or brightness levels, arguing this implies the presence of multiple light sources. However, the explanation lies in the moon's reflective surface. Lunar regolith reflects sunlight unevenly due to its texture and composition, creating complex shadow patterns. Additionally, the astronauts' helmets and equipment acted as reflective surfaces, further dispersing light and contributing to the effect. 6. Lack of a visible crater beneath the lunar module. Another frequently cited claim is that the Eagle's descent engine should have created a noticeable crater when landing. In reality, the moon's gravity required much less thrust than on Earth, and the engine was throttled down during landing. This gentle approach displaced fine dust, but did not leave a significant mark. The lunar surface is also covered in a compact layer of regolith, resistant to being blown away. These scientific explanations have been corroborated by countless experts, photographs, and even data collected by later missions, including robotic probes from other countries. Despite this, the idea of a hoax remains a persistent cultural phenomenon, perhaps because it taps into our love for mysteries and distrust of authority. For those who remain skeptical, there is an abundance of physical evidence supporting the Apollo missions. The most compelling proof comes from the moon itself. During the Apollo missions, astronauts collected more than 380 kilograms of lunar rocks and soil samples, materials that have been studied extensively by scientists worldwide. These samples contain unique isotopic compositions and lack certain Earth-based features, making it virtually impossible to fake them. Moreover, reflectors placed on the moon's surface during the missions are still used today for laser ranging experiments, providing precise measurements of the Earth-Moon distance. Additionally, several countries' space agencies, including China and India, have photographed the Apollo landing sites. High-resolution images show clear evidence of human activity, such as tracks, equipment, and even the lunar modules left behind. These findings leave little doubt among scientists about the authenticity of the Apollo missions. However, they also highlight a deeper issue. Why do so many people continue to doubt what seems to be irrefutable evidence? To understand why conspiracy theories about the moon landing endure, we must delve into human psychology. 1. The appeal of simplicity. Conspiracies often offer straightforward explanations for complex events. The idea that the moon landing was faked simplifies the immense technological, political, and social factors involved, making the story easier to grasp. 2. Distrust of authority. The 20th century was marked by numerous scandals and lies from governments and institutions, from Watergate to covert military operations. For many, the moon landing conspiracy fits into a broader pattern of mistrust. 3. The desire for mystery. People are naturally drawn to mysteries and the idea of uncovering hidden truths. The moon landing, one of humanity's most celebrated achievements, becomes more intriguing when framed as a potential cover-up. These psychological tendencies, combined with the internet's power to spread misinformation, have given conspiracy theories a life of their own. But they also obscure the true significance of what was achieved in 1969. The story of Apollo 11 is more than a historical event. It's a cultural touchstone that continues to spark curiosity, debate, and wonder. The question of whether the moon landing was real may linger in some circles, but its broader significance lies in the aspirations it represents. As we stand on the brink of a new era of space exploration, with missions planned to Mars and beyond, perhaps the lesson of Apollo is not about whether we landed on the moon, but about what humanity is capable of achieving when it dares to dream big. So, was it one small step for man or the greatest performance in history? The answer, like the moon itself, remains a source of fascination, a reminder of the mysteries that continue to define our place in the universe. If you've made it this far and haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? On Universe, you'll find even more quality content, and we'll be thrilled to have you here. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the topic and a like on the video. See you next time.